Earthquake or secret nuclear blast? A new tool exposes the truth with 99% accuracy. Mark Hogarth from The Conversation relates to us. Since the first detonation of an atomic bomb in 1945, and more than 2,000 nuclear weapons tests have been conducted by 8 countries: the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea. Groups such as the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization are constantly on the lookout for new tests. However, for reasons of safety and accurate secrecy, modern nuclear tests are carried out underground, which makes them difficult to detect. Often the only indication they have occurred is from the seismic waves they generate. In a paper published in Geophysical Journal International, my colleagues and I have developed a way to distinguish between underground nuclear tests and natural earthquakes with around 99% accuracy. The fallout: the invention of nuclear weapons sparks an international arms race as the Soviet Union, UK, and France developed and tested increasingly larger and more sophisticated devices in an attempt to keep up with the US. Many early tests caused serious environmental and social damage. For example, in the US 1954 Castle Bravo test, conducted in secret at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, delivered large volumes of radioactive fallout to several nearby islands and their inhabitants. Between 1952 and 1957, the UK conducted several tests in Australia, scattering long-lived radioactive material over the wide areas of South Australia bushland, with devastating consequences for local indigenous communities. In 1963, the US and UK and the USSR agreed to carry out further tests underground to limit fallout. Nevertheless, testing continued unabated as China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea also entered the fray over the following decades. How to spot an atom bomb? During this period, there were substantial international efforts to figure out how to monitor nuclear testing. The competitive nature of weapons development meant that much research and testing is conducted in secret. Groups such as the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization today run global networks of instruments specifically designed to identify any potential tests. These include air testing stations to detect minute quantities of radioactive elements in the atmosphere, aquatic listening posts to hear underwater tests, infrasound detectors to catch low-frequency booms and rumbles of explosions in the atmosphere, seismometers to record the shaking of Earth caused by underground tests. A needle in a haystack. Seismometers are designed to measure seismic activity, tiny vibrations of the ground surface generated when large amounts of energy are suddenly released underground, such as during earthquakes or nuclear explosions. There are 2 main kinds of seismic waves. First are body waves, which travel outwards in all directions, including down into the deep earth, before returning to the surface. The second are surface waves, which travel along Earth's surface like ripples spreading out on a pond. The difficulty in using seismic waves to monitor underground nuclear tests is distinguishing between explosions and naturally occurring earthquakes. A core goal of monitoring is never to miss the explosion, but there are thousands of sizable natural quakes around the world every day. As a result, monitoring underground tests is like searching for a potentially non-existent needle in a haystack the size of a planet. Nukes versus quakes. Many different methods have been developed to aid in this search over the past 60 years. Some of the simplest include analyzing the location or depth of the source. If an event occurs far from volcanoes and plate tectonic boundaries, it might be considered more spacious. Alternatively, if it occurs at a depth greater than, say, 3 kilometers, it's unlikely to have been a nuclear test. However, These simple methods are not foolproof. Tests might be carried out in earthquake-prone areas for camouflage, for example, and shallow earthquakes are also possible. A more sophisticated monitoring approach involves calculating the ratio of the amount of energy transmitted in body waves to the amount carried in surface waves. Earthquakes tend to expend more than their energy in surface waves than explosions do. This method has proven highly effective for identifying underground nuclear tests, but this too is imperfect. It fails to effectively classify the 2017 North Korean nuclear test, which generated substantial surface waves because it was carried out inside a tunnel in a mountain. This outcome underlines the importance of using multiple independent discrimination techniques during monitoring. No single method is likely to prove reliable for all events. An alternative method? In 2023, my colleagues and I from the Australian National University and Los Alamos National Laboratory in the US got together to re-examine the problem of determining the source of seismic waves. We used a recently developed approach to represent how rocks are displaced at the source of a seismic event and combined it with a more advanced statistical model to describe different types of events. As a result, we were able to take advantage of fundamental differences between the sources of explosions and earthquakes to develop an improved method of classifying these events. We tested our approach on catalogs of known explosions and earthquakes from the western United States and found that the method gets it right around 99% of the time. It makes it a useful new tool in efforts to monitor underground nuclear tests. Robust techniques for identification of nuclear tests will continue to be a key component for global monitoring programs. They are crucial for ensuring governments are held accountable for the environmental and societal impacts of nuclear weapons testing. This is by Mark Hogarth, DECRA Research Fellow, Australian National University. Article published from the Conversation under Creative Commons on Science Alert. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.